Hello guys, it's Jack. Welcome back. And today we are going to take a definitive look at the 5 US specializations and rank them in a once and for all rule of law tier list. So I hope you're okay with the answers, that we come up with today, because this is, it is what it is. Now, just to give a little bit of kind of showcase that I'm kind of a nerded out on this game. I'm at 263 hours. That may be a shallow sum for those watching, but the game has only been out for about 6 weeks. So the math on that is pretty intense. Of course, I know that there's going to be someone watching this video like 6 months from now, and it's going to say, bruh, dude, like 263 hours, I had that in the first 3 months, bruh. Okay, this was now, not then. So hello, future viewer. Anyway, so my goal today, again, is to kind of go over all the specializations, and the way I'm going to critique them is based on how well they pair with any other spec, right? What does the specialization bring to the table that is so unique to it and so special that you make a build around it, right? As we're all building decks and we're all trying to come up with battle groups, when you're putting these together, you have to kind of, I think it's the best way to do it is understand, how versatile is this battle group that I'm looking at. So today we're going to start out with USMC. So the best way I think to do that is jump into the game. So we're going to go to the armory and we're going to look at USMC. So now I'm going to just kind of do a brief run through and let you know, hey, these units I think are very key to the specialization, and then we'll see what that kind of comes out to and we'll go from there. So starting in the recon tab, I honestly think the only unit in this recon tab that is worth bringing is the sniper. It's the cheapest of the snipers for US, which is giving you that 3 stealth and 2,000 meter range with the option, if you absolutely need to use them as a fire team. But honestly, at 2 models, you really don't. You can upgrade them for 15 to have an anti-material rifle, but that is 1 anti-material rifle, and it is the only thing going to be firing because that other one is just way too close. So that option is there, but I love having these guys as a very cheap scouting unit. But besides that, guys, this recon tab is weak sauce. I don't see force recon as being like mandatory must-haves because their loadouts are pretty mid. I mean, they serve a purpose, but again, not a must-have. I only see the scout sniper. So infantry, again, very limited. I think the best option you really have here is the assaultman SMA, because they come with a 600 pen, a launcher. They carry 2 of them, and although they only have 6 armor, these guys do dish out a ton of damage to whatever they fight, right? They have an HE rocket and an AT rocket, so very useful. And I think if you're gonna be using USMC infantry, assaultmen SMA fit into any build that you want to bring. Do be mindful their range is not very far, but all of these other infantry, another battle group does what they do even better. Now, again, I'm saying this like if you wanted to say, okay, hey, I want to focus on only infantry and I want to have the strongest infantry, sure, that's where USMC can fit for that purpose. But again, that is super niche, right? You're really picking USMC just to add some more infantry options to your deck. But I think the best one out of the group, or the one that I use every single time, is the assaultman SMA. Just a really quick talk about the Marine Raider CQC. They don't have flashbangs. So sure, they clear forests well, but being that they don't have flashbangs, they're actually more effective fighting any other infantry in the game from outside of a building than getting inside of it and losing. Like a Ingenierie, a Sturmoviki squad can beat these guys if they get breached by, like a T-15 going and dumping them into the building. The 7-man or 8-man squad of Sturmoviki will beat your 14-man Marine Raiders because they have shotguns and flashbangs. So keep that in mind. Vehicle tab. I think the M1A1 FEP trophy is the clear standout here, simply because he comes with HE shells. That's really huge. When you're dealing damage to infantry, that HE shell makes a huge difference. And he also has 500 pen And when he is fully upgraded, you know, he's almost as much as a SEP V3, but again, 500 pen, 18 health, which is one less than the V3. But this tank is a standout. It is very strong, and whatever battle group I'm bringing, I'm definitely going to bring the FEP trophy. I absolutely think that having that HE shell and this kind of tank that does APHE is very good. Very good kind of combination of vehicles here, even though it might be expensive. These other options, they're super mid. They you know, they do what they do well enough, but not better than or more specialized than anything else. Support tab, I think the standout unit here is the Miklik. If you've ever played US, you know what the TAS 1 feels like. I think that's like a Buratino, or the Soprenizik, or whatever is the other one. It's basically a massive barrage of high damage shells that just wipe out everything you have. And this Catfe version of the AAVP is the Walmart version of that. It's not as good as the TAS, but it does a ton of damage. You can clear infantry in buildings, in forests, and even light vehicles can take a ton of damage from this if they get, you know, hit pretty directly. So definitely you want to bring this guy. He is a very special unit that does a very fantastic job. Don't miss out on the Catfe. Everything else here, pretty stock standard kind of stuff. I might say that the Dragonfire Mortar might be another one that's actually very good. The only thing, he's very light on smoke rounds, so you don't really get a lot of smoke, and you don't really get a lot of the precision munitions either. But if a close second in this tab would be the LAV-M. So helicopter tab. Honestly, all of these helicopters are pretty mid. The only specialty thing here is that the Super Cobra and the Viper can have sidearms, which this is a you know, basically a seed missile that you can put on a helicopter. But again, you only have 2 of them, and the Super Cobra, I mean, you only have 2 pylon sets. So you have, you know, standard Hydra rockets on one, and then the other one is like, okay, how do you want to specialize this one helicopter? So if you just want this thing to be basically a seed chopper, sure, you can do it. But guess what? With only 2 seed missiles, you better be bringing out a bunch of these if you want to accomplish you know, a seed run, so to speak, because 2 are going to get intercepted very easily. I honestly think these helicopters are very mid. The King Stallion is great, but honestly the Chinook is better. It can hold 2 extra guys, it has more armor, it has more countermeasures. This thing is okay, but it's not as good as a Chinook. And the Osprey, this thing takes way too long to land wherever it's going, and unless you give it a unload command from very far away and there's absolutely no threats, this thing is not worth it. So pretty mid helicopter tab for all the points you get and options you get. Air tab, the only standout for me in this air tab is the Prowler. You get 4 harm missiles, which is very good, and it's very cheap for carrying 4 seed missiles. The problem with it is that it's very slow, so if somebody on your team asks for a seed run, you better let them know, hey, okay, I'm sending my Prowlers out. Give me a minute to get there, because I've had this happen where I'll call for a seed run. My teammate says, yep, okay, seed's out. And then I'll send in my F-15 Strike Eagle or something, and I'll get shot down. And then I'm like, wait, I thought there was seed. I'll turn around, I'll look, and oh yeah, there's, you know, 3 or 4 Prowlers coming up, you know, moseying on out of the air spawn. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I didn't realize they were Prowlers. I, you know, maybe was assuming they were CJs, or I just wasn't thinking. But this is the standout unit here in this air tab, right? These Harriers, again, they're very slow. Other planes do what they do better. The F-18 CND, this is a very, again, slow turning plane. It's not very agile. It's not the best air-to-air fighter. It does have the long-range rockets, but for its cost, man, there are other planes that do what it does way better. And same with the F-18D. I mean, this is basically a bargain bin F-15. It has options. Again, this can kind of multi-role with Mavericks. This can have a variety of bombs. I guess this one gets the Mavericks. Does this get Mavericks? We're doing it live. No, okay, so the D can have the Mavericks. This is pure ASF. This one can get Mavericks. But honestly, again, it has no stealth. Its ECM is low. This thing has a tendency to just get shot down all the time. Again, other planes in the US arsenal do what all of these planes do better besides the Prowler. And the poor F-35B, there was a day where this thing was like my favorite in the beta, but since it's limited to 1,000 pound bombs, it's just nowhere near as good as its F-35A kind of, you know, it's upgraded version, I would say. And these 1,000 pounds, like, you know, versions of JDAMs, I mean, you can't even make this a seed plane, which I guess why would you when you have the Prowler? But this can't do a lot of damage to infantry and buildings. It can kill infantry and light vehicles or light skinned vehicles out in the open. That's about it. You're not killing a tank with this. You know, 2 bombs on a T-15 or T-14 isn't going to kill it. So again, very niche role, and it is pretty expensive. So yeah, guys, with all that kind of being said, I think the USMC ranks D for me. It is a very niche tab. It kind of is the jack of all trades, master of none. And unfortunately, it being that specialized means that it sits in the D tier. And just to say, I'm gonna put one of these specializations in each tier. As I thought about this, I kind of figured out how they're gonna run that way. So next, let's look at the Airborne. Now, Airborne, you start to specialize a lot more in Airborne, and I think that kind of helps it. This recon tab is decent, but not excellent. You get airborne snipers, which are more expensive than the other versions, but they're a more expensive sniper, but they still do that recon role pretty well. Again, they're very sneaky. They might have a chance of surviving if they come up against another sniper squad, because they have an M4 with a grenade launcher and a couple of rifles. But they're okay. Again, if you don't have any other sniper recon, these guys are good to bring. But the LRAS, I definitely think this one, if you want to have a very, very cost-effective, high-optic, fast recon, this is your guy, right? The LRAS is very good, and you can even put smoke on it. You can give it some B-kit armor that does make it slower. But this is a must-take for me if I'm going to have recon options with this deck. Again, if I don't have any other fast recon that can get around the map and scout, this is a great choice. And then I think the Global Hawk is the other almost must-have option because of how much sight range you get. But man, this thing takes a lot of practice to use because with only 1.25 stealth, it gets spotted very easily. And of course, it's 150 points down the drain as soon as it gets shot down. So this does take practice to learn where to put it and how to make sure it doesn't get killed. But once you get used to that, it's very, very good. So really, again, snipers, because they're snipers, and Global Hawk are kind of my top picks here. So infantry tab, you guys have not taken even 1 second break to tell me how bad you think the airborne squads are. Sorry, not sorry. I think the airborne squads are very good. This penetration, even though the actual damage number is not like 1.4 or 1.5 like other squads, the fact that they have high pen means they win against most infantry. And a lot of you guys keep saying, oh, well, when airborne and rangers meet each other on the field, the rangers always win. Guys, I don't know about you, but 95% of my games are versus RU. I don't have mirror matches very often. So yeah, I've said this before. I think rangers are a better anti-infantry squad, but as an all-arounder generalist line infantry, the airborne are by far the best because you're getting a 600 meters, 600 pen, a rocket launcher, and then with 600 meter range across all of your armaments, you create the engagement distance. If you don't want to necessarily take these guys into a forest to do forest fighting, but you can actually create very good fields of fire with the airborne squad if you're spreading them out and allowing them to engage with other infantry. And again, having that 600 pen rocket launcher gives them very good flexibility to fight against other tanks. So the M2, yeah, so that, I'm not, sorry guys, not doing a deep dive. So these guys are an absolute must pick for me. The Stinger team, these Stingers are amazing because it's 2 launchers with 6 rockets. That kind of 3 volleys of double shots is incredibly powerful and very effective against enemy helicopters and allows you to actually secure kills much easier than any other kind of man-pad squad that you basically have to double up all the time so you actually kill something and it's not just flying away like, oh, it gets shot once, or the missiles take so long to fire that unless the guy's like totally not paying attention, he'll just fly away. Much easier to secure kills with this, and its cost for what it is actually pretty good. So these TOW 2A, again, another, I love to take these. Unless I'm in a forest fight, I think the TOW 2A is very, very good. I love the overfly attack. Again, you're not spending hand over fist, you know, on points to get a TOW 2B, and you can stack two of these very close to each other, and you're doing a lot of damage with these guys together. So this is, again, another kind of must-take unit for me here in the infantry tab. And the weapon squad, just the same. Again, with a double javelin, you get 3 volleys of javelin, 1,300 meters. I absolutely love this squad. I think they're very, very cost effective for the damage they deal and at that engagement range. Against 1,300 meters. If you remember USMC, it's 1,000 meters, right? For their 2 launchers, which is the Cat Dragon. This is the Javelin, and I think, again, wonderful unit. So basically right here, you have 4 like almost must takes for me if I'm taking Airborne, and they give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of different kinds of damage that you can deal with them. I love this infantry tab for all the great options that it has. Vehicle tab, now honestly the only thing I absolutely take every single time is this M8. I think this thing punches way above its weight class. You have a variety of different types of armor you can put on it. If you want it to be airdroppable, it has to be applique. I think I'm saying that right, applique, or applique with Iron Fist for the extra 30 points. But honestly, upgrading this thing to the max for 160 points is super worth it. 15 health and APS really gives this thing some damage. And again, you're getting the SEP V3 gun, which is max damage, max pen at max range. Absolutely worth it. Now, it only has 6 shots, but you're not really going to be standing off that. I mean, if you're actually getting 6 shots off and you're running away, you've done a great job. But I love this thing. Absolute must take every single time. Totally worth it for any deck that you bring this with. This is a great fire support tank. So the support tab. I've messed with this support tab a lot. I think honestly this MTV is a kind of an unsung hero. It's very fast and very cheap, and if you don't have another fast, cheap type of transport vehicle, I think this does it very well. It can carry 16 men, 4,500 supplies, and 95 speed. I think it's very good for exactly that range, that kind of value of kind of stats, like what it can do for you. It carts Logi and your infantry around very, very effectively. Brutus, okay, so Brutus is one of those that it's like not a must-have, but it's like it's a runner-up, right? For 3,800 actually guided rounds, you have 3,800 meter range. It can be laser guided, which you have plenty of laser guiding tools in this specialization, and 12 damage. This thing's not bad, right? And if the closer you get it, it is very quick. It moves at 95 speed, so this thing can shoot and move very effectively, and you can get it closer than its max range to actually get a better dispersion. So honestly, these two are it. The Slam Ram, again, kind of a runner-up. It's really not that great, but the important thing to note here is it's very cheap. You don't have to upgrade this. I mean, 2 extra missiles, it's quality of life, and then at that point, well, then you only 10 more, and you can actually get some AIM-9s for SHORAD. But I think the best use case for the Slam Ram is just its 130 point version. If you realize you're getting cruise missiled a lot, you can bring a bunch of these for cheap, and it can intercept cruise missiles very, very well. So those are my top picks for that tab. Now, helicopter tab, the Kiowa Warrior, absolute must take every single time you want to put a deck together with Airborne. You got to bring the Kiowa Warrior. It has 20 ECM. Right now, it only has 8 health. With this 20 ECM with flares, that allows it to really, really trade against other helicopters very, very well. This thing usually always trades up against whatever it's fighting. If you bring 2 of them, you'd think that's 180 cost, and that's cheaper than just about every helo that the Russians have that would actually be fighting against you with other Iglas. And most of the time you're going to beat it, because just your salvo of missiles having, as at that point, 8 missiles is going to win out. And of course, if you put optronics on it, you can turn this thing into a laser des unit at 2,400 range. So again, you can laser des for your other units. This is an absolute must take. This Apache and this Longbow, very good, but they're not necessarily a must take. This Kiowa Warrior definitely is. Chinook, amazing transport, 32, 12,500 supplies, 10 ECM, 18 health, very good transport, decent speed, worth its cost. The Air Tab, So F-15C, by far the most cost-effective ASF or air superiority fighter in the game. You can build this thing out to, you know, one way that I build this thing out to be very cost effective is exactly like this. You can go very cheap, as this thing is a priority target kind of engagement unit that when you see something that shows up, like for example a nuke plane or a heavy bomber that you just want to kill it, that thing might be worth 1,000, 600, 700, 800 points. You can just call out 2 of these and you're always going to trade up, and 90% of the time you will shoot it down, especially if you bring 2, right? Just flip the afterburners on and just right click on that target and it'll shoot it down. Again, only 220 points. You can make it even cheaper at 190, but losing that extra set of missiles means that you're not going to be firing a second set, as you're going to just fire 1 AMRAAM kind of in a cycle. But now with the Sparrow, you're firing 2 missiles at once instead of just 1. So I think this is a very critical way to build it. And then if you want to make a loiter plane, you can add a fuel tank or 2, and now this thing can actually sit in the back line and actually hover, and you can cover the skies with it. Extremely versatile aircraft. Absolute must take if you're going to be building an airborne deck. The next one up, I would say, is the F-15E Strike Eagle. There's a couple of schools of thought on how to build this guy out. I personally like it in the 4 cluster bombs. Now, some people say that this is a little hard because you have to get all the clusters to land, and sometimes you can miss. This is true. Basically, when you're doing your bombing run, if you don't hit dead center on the tank, you won't kill it. But at 275 points, that cost value is so good because now you can bring, you know, 3 of these instead of 2, because if you want to put the extra cluster bombs on it, now it's 365, so you're bringing less of them with a higher chance to hit. But again, remember, most of the time, I would say 50% of the time this plane dies, it doesn't get out. So just keep that in mind. But if you make it cheap, you just put the fuel tanks for 275, you can knock out, again, 1 or 2 tanks with this very effectively and very easily. So, but there's a lot of options. You can do a lot with this plane, and I think just the versatility that it brings and the ability to just wipe out that Russian armor is absolutely crucial. So these 2 planes, absolutely must take. Every single one of my airborne decks has these guys in it. It's just a matter of how many. And of course, these other options are great, but not must-haves. So with that being said, I kind of look at Airborne, and it really fills so many roles really well between its recon, its ability to have great airplanes, one of the best anti-helo choppers in the game, and the Kiowa Warrior, a very amazing fire support tank. This thing gets a B rating for me. So now let's look at the big armor boys. So armor is pretty awesome. You get an amazing recon tab. Cav Scouts, I mean, like a must take, right? Cav Scouts are so good. They have a javelin with 3 missiles, and of course that basic recon stats of 1750 and 2.5. So you can double these up. You can pair them with a CFV, which is always, I take this CFV transport with them. I'm sorry, the M3A3, because you can give this, you know, armor and a protection system if you want, or you can make this thing super cheap, right? And you can just have it be a TOW 2 launcher that pairs up with your Cav Scout, so you can have this in a building or on a forest edge, and you can have this right next to it. Actually gets better sight range at that point, and then these 2 units can fire together and do some big damage onto a vehicle. And because this TOW 2 launcher is, this TOW 2 missile is going to get there first, it's probably going to activate the APS, and then the Cav Scout's javelin will actually get through and hit. This thing also has 1600 meters range. So again, this combination, very good, must take absolutely every single time. The other unit I take basically every other single time is the SEP V2 TUA. I usually only take 1, but it is an amazing recon tank. Recon tanks allow you to actually hide back in the tree line and shoot at another vehicle and they won't see you. It's kind of shocking when you do it. Your enemy will just be really caught off guard, or they won't even understand what happened because they're getting shot from stealth, right? So you don't put this at the edge of the tree line, you set it back just a little bit, and that allows its stealth rating to really take into full effect. So absolutely must take on every single one. I absolutely love it. So these 3 units, absolutely a must take. This M9081 is probably a runner up just because it has 2400 optics and it also has the 1.25 stealth, and it can laze, kind of like the LRAS. It's just slower, but I absolutely love this thing too. But Cav Scouts, SEP V2 Tua, and the M3A3, amazing options. Infantry tab, honestly, I've seen guys really like pump out, just crank out mech riflemen. They just bring them out by the droves, throw them into buildings everywhere. That's an option. But when I end up seeing guys, and I don't, again, this is not a deep dive, but I just have to say that the mech riflemen, for the amount of points you spend on mech riflemen, they're not worth it. I think the only infantry here that's really a standout for me are the mech engineers. They're great at forest clearing. They can clear buildings, and they're worth it because of how cheap they are, but they're really not meant to go like breach and clear. They're meant to clear forests and maybe go building to building, because you want to take advantage of the small launcher. It does great damage to other infantry units. But this is the only unit in here that I would say, you know, is a great pick, but it's not even a must take, because so many other infantry tabs do what they do better. But out of these four, I think this one's good, but it's not a must take for me. The vehicle tab, of course, being the armor deck, the vehicle tab is pretty amazing. I think an absolute must take every single time is a SEP V3. 525 pen, and it has an HE round, is absolutely wonderful. With the 850 front armor is amazing. There's a variety of armor packages that you can put on it. I think now that the game has kind of evolved and developed more and more, I'm noticing that most of the time my SEP V3s die to cluster bombs. I rarely ever have them die to helicopter ATGMs or ground ATGMs or rockets. Again, I'm dying to tank fights and cluster bombs. So I'm experimenting with just running them with Tusk 2, not even messing with Trophy and just using their smoke. But again, you can obviously put Trophy on them, and they're just an absolute beast of a tank. There is never a deck that you guys should put together that doesn't bring these in one form or another, purely because of its stats. Second best, in my opinion, is the SEP V2. Again, you can put the Tusk armor package on it, make it a tank brawler, and now you have 500 pen with 19 health. This is absolutely amazing. 750 armor, a great tank to tank kind of brawler, does that very well. And again, a must take. Even if you're only going to bring a couple of them, you bring two of these, you bring two of these. Those four tanks do an absolute ton of damage. Kind of next up for me behind that is the AMPV, purely because you can upgrade this thing to have the Bushmaster 2. Now this has more pen and more damage than the regular Bushmaster, and that means it's more versatile. It does more damage to more types of vehicles, which really edges it out. It also can shoot at helicopters and do an enormous amount of damage to them. And again, the fact that it has this javelin, it can shoot this on the move. It doesn't have to stop and shoot like a stinking Bradley. It can shoot the javelin on the move, which is absolutely an amazing trait for this missile system to have. You can also give it, of course, upgraded armor and APS, which really makes this thing an absolute beefcake out on the field. Again, an absolute must take for transporting units around. It is a little expensive, but it more than pays for itself. So an absolute must have. I think these three vehicles, you put them in every deck that you bring and just have a great time with that. So the support tab, again, great choices here. Pack 2, probably the best US anti-air SAM in the game, like long range air defense, or I guess LRAD, I don't know. But this is wonderful because with the 4 missile system, this thing one-shots planes all the time. If you've ever played as RU, you know it and you love it and you absolutely hate it. I say, yeah, if you play US, you love it. If you play RU, you hate it, because yeah, you one-tap planes all the time with this. Obviously, intercepting cruise missiles isn't the best use of this pack system, but being only 180 points and having 8,000 meters range is wonderful. Must take every single time, basically no matter what. I think another option here that I've started to learn as a must take is this GMLRS with the cluster warheads. At 6,000 meter range and with 12 rockets, you get a ton of versatility. And what I've actually started doing with these is I'll actually do a creeping barrage across a really wide area. So for example, you have a guy that's, you know, doing the standard typical artillery thing where they'll shoot a couple shots and they move. Everyone's always moving after they shoot. Well, you just kind of realize what's the general area that this guy is from, and you just creeping barrage that entire area. And guess what? 12 missiles across an entire area, you're probably going to hit him. And if 3 of them hit, he's most likely going to die, right? And these things don't have usually more than 15 health. Artillery pieces in general don't have more than 15. So you only need 3 hits out of the 12 to wipe them out. Or if not, you're going to destroy all the supplies, which is going to set them back for a while anyway. So absolutely love having this thing, and I bring it every single time. The other one that I would say is a must take is the linebacker. It's very versatile. You can either have it with stingers or hellfires, depending on just kind of how you want to use it. I prefer the hellfires. But you can upgrade this thing so it's not getting one-tapped by other vehicles. You leave it in a forest or a tree line. It gets stealth. Very versatile, right? Again, I bring this every single time because it can go with my tanks. It can engage other tanks. It can engage helicopters. It's a very versatile platform that, again, also has the 30 mic on it, which is HE, but that means it can shoot at infantry and do some fire support that way as well. But yeah, between these 3 units, the Pack 2, the Short, and GMLRS, these are absolute must-takes. I know just as a runner-up, the Paladin with the Iron Thunder is very good because of its 5,000 meter range. But personally, I don't want to spend all of my time microing artillery pieces. I like this for its single use case, and then I'll either sell it or just reload it. I like using it once in a while. But these 3 units, absolutely great. And of course, if you like Artie, the Iron Thunder, second to none. Helicopter tab, there is none. Air tab, there is none. So just realizing again, when you want to put a deck together, seeing how useful and how many options that the deck gives you is really the point here. And I think because the vehicle tab in this is so good, the infantry tab is kind of, you don't really care about it. Every other spec in the game gives you infantry, but the recon tab here is very good. Armored recon and infantry. The vehicle tab is excellent, and the support tab is very excellent. Some of the best pieces in the game. This thing gets pretty high on my list, and I actually put armored at an A. So we got Stryker and we have SF left. Now again, we're saying not how well this deck, we're looking at this as how do these decks line up, and you guys probably already know how this is probably going to shake out, but let's look at Stryker. So the Stryker deck, I think it has very good units, but it's definitely overshadowed in a lot of ways. So the recon tab, the Stryker RV is absolutely very good. For, 175, you get the Bushmaster 2, and you get a Javelin, and you get 2400 sight range with a laser. Those are all very amazing, and I absolutely would bring this in every deck that I build. At that point, it's really how many of them you want to bring, just understanding that at 16 health and basically no kinetic armor, that this thing can get killed, and it will get killed, like a B-15 or a T-14, whatever. If they go head to head, they will absolutely shred this thing. So you got to keep it far away. You have to use it as a recon transport with some great potential for damage. But that's really it. Again, absolutely must take for every kit. Get used to using it. Use it as kind of an ambush unit, or as a wolf pack unit, as kind of your recon unit in a wolf pack. It's very good for that. Infantry tab, honestly, the only units that I think are like kind of must-haves, I would say, are the combat engineers, because you have a 9-man squad with a variety of different weapons that do an enormous amount of damage with 10 armor. I mean, these guys, again, they're not made to CQB, because when they're breaching into a building, these machine guns aren't being used, the SMADs aren't being used, and the grenade launcher isn't being used. So you're only getting 7 of their guns firing. So you're not getting a ton of effectiveness. And if they go up against, again, something with flashbangs, they're gonna lose against a flashbang unit. But outside of a building, for forest clearing or for building to building engagements, these guys are absolutely wonderful. The runner-up, I'd say, is the Trooper AA, because they do have 6 rockets. That just allows them to have a lot of firing time, but nothing special with the range, and their armor is very low. The Trooper Squad, they're a defensive infantry, but man, they take a lot of micro. You're constantly having to reload them. They only get 2 shots. I just feel like I just have to go and mention again, the infantry tab here is pretty weak, and other specs do what these guys do, I think, way better. So honestly, none of these are a must take for me, but I'd say runners up are combat engineers and troopers. So really not off to a great start. I say 1 unit here, nothing here, vehicle tab. The Bookers, right? So the Bookers I think is an absolute must take. I think just if you want to put a vehicle tab together that really gives you something that you're not afraid to dive in and just murder everything with, it's the Bookers. At 190 points, you can have all of your other expensive tanks like your SEP V3s or your you know, M8 Thunderbolts, your FEP trophies. All those other tanks are really good, but they're very expensive. You don't really want to engage them, you know, you don't want to put them in a situation where they could lose. The nice thing about the Bookers is when this thing runs in to CQB with anything, infantry, other tanks, whatever, the fire rate of that cannon allows it to usually outtrade anything it's fighting against. And because it has APS, that gives it a survivability that is, again, second to none for this size, for this cost of unit. Very super effective. But honestly, guys, that's it. All these other vehicles are very specialty. They're very light skinned. They die super easily. None of these other vehicles are necessarily a must take for me, but the Bookers, absolutely. It's useful in every single tab, every single loadout, every build that you could make. You absolutely want to have the Bookers. So the support tab. I think this is really where the Stryker starts to kind of come alive, right? I know the Bookers are nice, and the RV, the RV Stryker is good, but here you get something very special with the Pack 3. This thing is the cruise missile consumer. I mean, when you upgrade this thing to 12 missiles, this thing will eat cruise missiles all day, every day, and really not even blink an eye at it. Also, you have the CRAM for eating cruise missiles, but it's not as good as the PVADs. You know, actually, that's definitely something I forgot to mention in here. The PVADs. This is absolutely a must take because it eats seed missiles and cruise missiles for breakfast. And even another reason that I would put this in the A tier because of the PVADs. So sorry if you were already screaming that I didn't put the PVADs in there, but I think the CRAM is a worse version of the PVADs and why it's not necessarily a must take. Because if you can take the PVADs, but if you can't take the PVADs, this is fine. But yeah, Patriot Pack 3, absolutely a must-have. It just eats cruise missiles for days. The other absolute must-take is the Stryker M SHORAD. This was probably one of the first units in the game, besides the Bookers, that I absolutely fell in love with, and I was like, yeah, there is literally never a deck that I would ever build that I won't bring this. The fact that you have a SHORAD system that has APS is extremely overpowered. And it's funny because sometimes I hear people say, oh my god, I can't believe the Stryker SHORAD doesn't come with smoke. What the heck? What a trash unit. I'm like, dude, if it also came with smoke, this thing would be disgustingly overpowered. And why would you bring anything else? You just bring 4 of these, and at that point, it's like essentially a main battle tank, you know, that can just kill helicopters on top of it, right? It has to have some counter, and that's getting caught by a tank, right? If a tank catches this thing, it doesn't really have any way to protect itself. It just has to run away. So it needs a counter. I'm definitely glad it doesn't have smoke. But one of the most amazing ways to build out a vehicle in the game, because you're gonna get Hellfires. It can shoot at vehicles. It shoots the Stingers and the Hellfires at helicopters, which basically, you know, it's like a double tap. They just instantly explode. So between the Pack 3 and the SHORAD, these are absolute must takes. I also want to say a runner-up would be the HIMARS. This is like the discounted version of the GMLRS. The nice thing, it's very cheap. So if you wanted to go with cluster warheads, it's only $220, and you get that cluster fire. Now again, for 80 points more, you get twice as many. So again, I don't always bring this, but it is a great option to have because you're getting that 6,000 meter range. But must-haves: Patriot Pack 3, Stryker M SHORAD. These are absolutely amazing, and I would put them in every single kit. Ooh, definitely not that. I'd put these in every single kit that I would ever make. Helicopter tab. There's nothing in the air tab. So this air tab, the CJ, is an amazing multi-role plane. The fact that you can put harm missiles on this and you can put AMRAAMs on it is pretty stinking awesome. So how I build this thing is I put AMRAAMs on it and I put harms. That makes it 315, and that allows you to have an ASF plane. Again, it's only 2 AMRAAMs. So, you know, if you wanted to get a few more AMRAAM, you can upgrade it to 345, and now you have a very decent air-to-air fighter that also has 4 anti-radiation missiles. This is a big deal. The fact that you can basically defend yourself against SAM sites while you're going in air-to-air combat is amazing, and don't underestimate how good this thing is as an ASF plane. Again, it's pretty weak ECM, but you're really covering yourself against other long-range air defense with these harms. So absolutely must take every single time. I would say a close second to this is probably the Fighting Falcon. This is very versatile. You can put low, high drag bomb loadouts to, engage ground targets with. You can put Maverick missiles on it if you want it to kind of do that anti-tank strafing run. And of course, these can also be an ASF, and you can put ECM on it. So this is kind of close for me in like second place. But out of all of these, I'd say the only must pick is the CJ. So you're really not getting a lot of options though. Let's go over this. You get the Stryker RV, the Bookers, the Pack 3, the Shorad, and the CJ. So these are great tools to bring with any kit that you would want to put together. But if I had to rank this against the other options that I have, easy C rank for me here. So let's look now at SF. So I think if you had to ask anybody in this game what the top tier specialization for US is, it is by far and away the special ops, because everything that this deck has is freaking unbelievably amazing. And if I wanted to be like an absolute meme lord, I would call this like S+++ whatever tier, because this is so much better, guys, than everything else. And if you look at on BA Hub, if you look at actually the like outline of most pick specs, for US, it's armored and it's spec ops, because again, everything this specialization has is incredible. Green Berets, you can put flash launchers or sniper rifles, and they're incredible. You get 2 sniper rifles at very far range that do a ton of damage to infantry. They have 3 stealth, 2000 sight range, so they can stay hidden and just be shooting stuff, and whatever they're shooting at doesn't even know where the shots are coming from. You can put them in a flash loadout where they just burn everything alive, insane amounts of damage to infantry in buildings or out in the open, and they fire in salvos of 4. Amazing. Pararescue, flashbang infantry at 60 cost. 60, and you have a flashbang infantry that can trade way up because it can CQB, can breach into a building and just decimate any infantry inside of it, right? You can also upgrade it to a special tactics team that gives it a 700 meter range loadout with a DMR that penetrates cover and a Stinger missile with 4 rockets at 2000 range. Amazing. Rangers RRC. Both loadouts for these are completely Chad. I mean, you give these guys this close quarters loadout, they have a 600 pen AT4, so they basically think of it like they ripple fire because they're individual rockets, so they shoot these very quickly. Think of like a Spetsnaz GRU, right? They can fire these very fast. They have a suppressed MG, they have a suppressed gun here, but their pen isn't very great, but the damage is high, and again, they can forest clear very well with this loadout. If you want them to be standoff, now they have again a DMR that can penetrate cover. These higher pen, lower damage, but higher pen for standoff engagements, and they still get a 600 meters, 600 pen law, right? So both of these loadouts for this thing are absolutely amazing. Just what's the use case that you want to use for it? Rangers, they're the most expensive of the snipers, but they have a 900 meter range sniper rifle in their suppressed loadout, or you can upgrade them to have this kind of weird loadout. I normally don't use them for that, and I guess I'm getting a little carried away. These guys aren't necessarily a must take for me because I'd rather pick a cheaper sniper squad, but if you keep them in the suppressed loadout, they're very useful as a sniper team. But yes, Green Beret Flash, STT, Rangers RRC, absolutely every single deck, no matter what it is, I bring those 3 guys. The Flyer, super fast, can carry 6 guys. Again, for its speed and its cost, it's incredibly fast, and its off-road speed is 60, one of the fastest for a car or like a light car transport in the game. The Mat V, you can upgrade this thing with a Javelin missile. Now, has a sniper rifle and a Javelin, so it's an ambush vehicle. It's not a must take, but I'd say it's a runner-up. Let me not get too carried away. The Sentinel, absolute must take every single deck, no matter what. So I'm really gonna say these 4 units: the Green Beret Flash, the SCT or the PJs, Rangers RRC in either loadout, and the Sentinel, absolutely must takes, because this Sentinel drone If you know it, you love it. If you fought against it, you hate it. It's flying above your units. You don't even know it's there. It's spotting all your stuff. It's spotting, you know, the enemy supply depots, all their unit transport movements, tanks, everything like that. You're always being seen, and the enemy has to commit a lot to knock this thing out of the sky constantly. So amazing recon tab, and all 4 of these units you want to build in every deck that you bring. Infantry tab. Okay, here we go again. Delta Force. Close quarters, they have flashbangs, which makes them better than the Marine Raiders. Shotguns, grenade launchers, which allows them to do building to building fighting very well. Machine guns, again, in the building to building fighting. But having these weapons with the shotguns and the flashbangs allows them to breach and clear buildings extremely effectively. And their other loadout standoff. You get a Fletcher rocket launcher system that can absolutely delete tanks or enemy infantry at long range, and you get 8 rockets with this that fires in salvos of 4. Extremely nice, and 3 DMRs means that they can engage other enemy infantry in buildings and ignore 50% of cover. Wonderful unit for standoff, absolutely must take every single time. Rangers, you guys all know their infantry to infantry fighting is wonderful. These DMRs, they penetrate cover and give you an amazing ability to fight. Now, their range is shorter, which again, going back to those guys that have been screaming at me for the past 2 weeks about Airborne sucking, the range of this squad is much less than the Airborne, which means the Airborne control the engagement unless they're getting in close, which again is kind of ruining their value at that point. But this unit, when they get in their engagement range, they're very effective because of the amount of damage that they do, even though their pen is less. But their rocket launcher is a little weak. But even then, you can change these guys to close quarters, and I think that's where they actually really shine. I think putting these guys in the close quarters loadout and being a forest clearing unit or building to building, not CQB, but firing from one building to another enemy in another building, is very useful because they have a variety of weapons that have pretty decently good amounts of damage, and they do that very well. So again, both loadouts, they don't cost any different, and you have a variety of really great options. Again, the Scar H with DMR is great because it's penetrating cover. So these guys, again, they're an absolute must take. Rangers AGL, the more I use them, the more I love them. I actually have seen these guys shoot down helicopters. It's not very consistent, but it can. And for 75 points, you know, you're getting an 8 armor, 6-man squad that can fight against other infantry and create a kind of a defensive point. I'd say runner-up. These 2 must have. Now, the Rangers Raws, absolute must have. Oh my gosh, these guys are right up there. Every single deck I have, no matter what. I'm putting these M4 Carl Gustavs, and the fact that you have 3 of them with 18 rockets, I mean, these guys must be carrying some weight. Because at 18 rockets, I mean, that's a lot of rockets. But with 600 pen, you like 1 or 2 of these gets up onto the side of a T15, T14, T whatever, and that thing is absolutely shredded. So at 600 meters range, you'd be shocked how far these things can shoot. It's pretty amazing. Must have every single time. Now the Stinger unit, I think this is probably a runner-up, just like the Rangers Mark 47, in that you can give them the 2,000 meter range, just like the STTs, with 4 missiles, or you can give them a 1,500 meter, which is longer than any other Javelin in the game, with 4 rockets that can be very effective anti-tank platform. Pair it up with something like a Cav Scout, and now you have, you know, a very effective kind of system of long-range anti-tank missiles. So both of these loadouts are great, kind of depending on what you want them to do. But I think, again, runner-up, and the other 3 are must-have. So as you guys can see, amazing set of units here. Vehicles, you only have the War Pig, but guess what, guys? Must-have. It's 95 speed, and look at the weapons you can put on it. You can put an anti-infantry TOW 2, you can put Fletcher guided rockets, you can give it a Mark 47, which is that special grenade launcher. I mean, these all cost, but they're so valuable. I mean, if you guys have ever fought against this, where you have like an enemy player put in a bunch of infantry and then these are just sitting out way off in the back firing missiles at you, yeah, that's pretty painful. This thing can actually do a lot of consistent damage if you're allowing it to shoot you and not prioritizing taking it out. I personally like the Fletcher because of how versatile this is. I mean, with 16 missiles, you're getting a salvo of 4 at a time, and you have 4 salvos of 4. So must take. I always take these. They carry 12 units, which is a lot. I don't know where all these guys are sitting. You know, 12 guys somehow hanging off the side of this thing is pretty funny to me. But yeah, at 95 speed and carrying 12, it's absolutely a must take every single time. No support. Helicopter tab. Oh my gosh. All of these are great. Guys, all of these helicopters are amazing. But if I have to say what are the must picks, Killer Egg, by far and away every day of the week. You can highly customize this thing with a variety of weapon systems, Hellfires, the miniguns, AA missiles, kind of however you build it, it can be very good. I personally like it very cheap with just all the miniguns because the amount of havoc and chaos that it can cause if the enemy team doesn't have sufficient SHORAD and isn't going way out of their way to make sure that they're defending against these can get into the back line, and they're so cheap. You can use them to scout the front line, you can use them to get into the back line. They're wonderful, and you absolutely got to always bring these Killer Eggs. The Guardian, another one, the longest anti-tank Hellfire in the game for the US side. So they're absolutely worth it to bring those rockets in. And then of course you can either put these extra range daggers or the Hydras at 1200 meters as an option, and then you can give it a better ECM system or a Stinger AA system, right? So you kind of choose how you want to kit this thing out. It is expensive, but no other helicopter does what this does as well as it does. So do take that into account. This thing is wonderful and is absolutely a must take. The SOAR, another must take for this kit. The fact that it has 20 armor, 18 health, and 15 ECM means this thing can dive in pretty risky areas and survive, right? You can even upgrade to have more ECM on it at 25. That's up to you. You can upgrade it with a whole variety of weapons if you want to, but 12,500 supply, 32 men transport for 150 must take every single time. Little Bird, these transports are extremely convenient. They're pretty decently quick, and they can carry a squad. So when you need a squad somewhere fast and it doesn't cost you a lot of points to this transport, this thing is absolutely worth it. I always bring Little Birds as transports in every deck that I have. So the Comanche, I would also say this is a must-have because when you load this thing out with Stingers, you get an absolutely insane volley of fire, and because it has 2.5 stealth, you can actually have this thing sitting back behind your line, and the enemy might not know that you have a Comanche sitting there. So he might dive a helicopter thinking he can get in a kill, and then if he ends up running into this thing, he's going to get a volley of like 3 Stinger volleys firing at him over and over and over, and you get 4 volleys like that. It's very powerful. Absolutely a must take. Again, you can build this thing out in a variety of ways, but I would absolutely always include that. So you guys see, I mean, basically every single tab that has units, almost all of them I'm saying is a must take, and that's for a good reason. And the air tab, guys, no different here. Absolute must take. I think the B2 Spirit with the nuke, gosh, this thing is way too good. I mean, you can either put it with cruise missiles, where it's just a very safe cruise missile plane, or you put the nuke on it. 9 times out of 10, I'd even go as far as 99 times out of 100, this nuke is going to get off. You fly this thing in, you drop this nuke wherever you want, and because this thing has 1.75 stealth, it might not get away, but it absolutely is going to get in there, and it is going to drop off its nuke. It's a great flexible plane to bring in that is always going to drop its payload on the target. The next one is the Raptor. At 1.75 stealth, this plane is always going to shoot at whatever it sees first before it sees you. So you can load this thing out, again, a variety of different ways. I like putting 1 JADAM rocket on it. So you got 2 JADAMs, 4 AMRAAMs, and 2 Sidewinders. That's now a very flexible plane. At 400, it is expensive, but it has 20 ECM, 15 flares, and again, that stealth rating allows you to engage a target and actually turn around and fly away before they even see you. F-35A, absolute must-have. I think the most flexible loadout for this is the 2,000-pound JDAMs. This allows you to seriously destroy literally anything in the game. 2 JDAMs can kill a T-14, and then 1 JDAM can kill anything else. 1 JDAM can kill a T-15, it can kill any other tank. You can blow up a helicopter with 1 bomb. these bombs are so versatile. They kill infantry and buildings. They do so much. So absolute must take. So yeah, you know, again, if you had to pick between, well, I can't afford all of these planes in there, or if you can't afford the B-2 Spirit, the Raptor, and the F-35A, I'd just say, well, what do you want? Do you want to micro a lot of planes, or do you want to just drop a big nuke? You know, but definitely always bring the Raptor. So there you go, guys. That is the rundown. That is all 5 US specializations ranked. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.